Sure. Here's the same script but rearranged to mix up the order a bit, so it's still smooth and natural but with a slightly different flow, more dynamic and less linear. The world had grown used to silence from the Vatican, but everything changed the moment Pope Leo XIV stepped forward. No one expected it. No signs were given. Just a sudden announcement that stunned the entire Catholic world. He spoke directly to every person watching, not as a pope, but as a man. You may be angry, you may be confused, you may have lost hope, but I am here now to rebuild, not with stone, but with truth. He admitted his own doubts, not in Christ, but in the way power had been used in Christ's name. I do not fear judgment from men, he said, but I do fear the judgment of God should I stay silent. He stood before billions and admitted, we have not done enough, I have not done enough, but I will do more, starting now. There was no arrogance, only honesty. The announcement wasn't a list of changes, it was a confession, a declaration of personal accountability. The leader of the Catholic Church laid bare his soul and said, this ends now. He declared that from this day forward, he would lead the Church into a new era of transparency. He ordered an immediate review of all Vatican assets. Nothing holy can be built on secrecy, he said. Centuries of silence opened. People didn't know whether to applaud or be afraid, but Pope Leo XIV wasn't looking for applause. He quietly dissolved long-standing offices that had become symbolic more than useful. He urged clergy everywhere to stop competing for honor and instead compete in humility. For the first time, full financial audits were made available to the public. He began replacing lavish events with small prayer services. No fanfare, just truth. Observers expected backlash, resistance. But what they didn't expect was that the people began returning. Young people, the lost, the disillusioned. Something had touched their souls, not tradition or theology, but the simple sound of truth, spoken without fear. Every morning he would rise early, walk barefoot into the chapel and spend hours in silent prayer. Witnesses said they saw a man at war with his own comfort, a man bearing the weight of history and conscience. He didn't tour the world or give dozens of interviews. He simply walked the halls of St. Peter's in quiet humility, as if trying to make peace with the ghosts of the past. And when he did speak, it pierced. One evening, he invited ordinary families to sit with him in prayer. No schedule, no cameras, just candles, silence and breathing. That night, people who had never set foot in church wept. Something deeper than words was happening. He began writing by hand, letters, personal reflections, letters to the soul. Not official teachings, just raw, honest thoughts from a man trying to be faithful. He admitted he had no grand vision for fixing everything. Truth is never outdated, and love, when honest, will always cut through the noise. He didn't count social media metrics or respond to critics. He kept doing what he believed was right, even when uncomfortable. Slowly, quietly, something powerful began to grow. People lit candles in their homes, no official call, just a quiet response. They weren't praising the Pope. They were responding to his courage. He never declared himself a reformer or shouted about revolution. He just lived differently. And that made people wonder, what would happen if I did the same? In one rare written reflection, he said, I am not here to rescue the Church. I am here to empty myself so that Christ may be seen again. Those words echoed far beyond religion. It wasn't about faith alone. It was about courage, honesty, and the rare beauty of a man who refused to wear a mask, even when the world demanded one. Pope Leo XIV reminded the world that holiness is not performance, leadership is not pride, and true authority comes from kneeling. After his shocking announcement, the cameras turned off, curtains closed. But something shifted in the hearts of millions. In quiet corners, people whispered, "Did you hear what the Pope said?" It was more than contempt, it was courage. He chose to remove the traditional pomp from Vatican affairs, stopped motorcade processions, walked gardens alone, met staff in chapels, not conference rooms, no reporters, just prayer, just truth. He gave up all symbols of wealth, no red shoes, no gold, no private comforts. I will live simply as Christ lived simply. He moved to a smaller residence. ate the same meals as his staff, refused special treatment. He promised to speak freely, boldly, without fear of tradition or politics. I will call wrong what is wrong even if it costs me everything. He promised never to issue public statements unless truly from his heart, not from pressure or politics. He admitted long months of withdrawal, not out of illness or pressure, but to prepare his soul, to speak not as a politician, but as a shepherd ready to face the storm. He declared a spiritual emergency. Luxury, pride, forgetting the poor, and humility must end. Standing before the world, he said, "We have waited too long. Silence is no longer an option, not for me." He stood not as a ruler, but as a servant of truth. He said, "What I am about to say may disturb many, but it must be